Mr. Yang, you may know that white nationalists are supporting you online. They seem to have seized on some of your statements, which they say are proof that you are particularly concerned about white people. Why do you think they're drawn to your candidacy?
You know, it's been a point of confusion because I don't look much like a
You are with us tonight, but I'd be remiss if I did not mention you were also invited on MSNBC this weekend, and you turned down that invitation and instead took to Twitter to slam the network, a decision that could be seen as risky during a Democratic primary. We're showing one of those tweets here, which reads in part, was asked to appear on MSNBC this weekend and told them that I'd be happy to after they apologize on air. What exactly do you want an apology for? It's kind of hard to understand him because of the goth there, but I mean, there's a lot more to that episode. I watched it. You only got one question right. What kind of a goth were you?
Oh, well, you know, I was a goth who didn't get tattoos and didn't know 3 brands of eyeliner. But I was a very angsty teenager. I loved the Smiths and The Cure. And I think my fashion choices confirmed that I had no intention of ever running for president.
How's it hanging, dudes? How's it yanging? My name is Sean, and what you just witnessed was the evolution of Yang's CNN interviews. It's more like a 12-step recovery system, you know what I mean, for like MSNBC, to recover from their, I guess we can just call it antics, right? So, and I know that he has been in like way more interviews than just the CNN one or few, but these really, I think, encapsulate how Yang has commanded respect from the media. So the first interview is all about, white bread. I gotta kind of, censor myself there because YouTube will just immediately demonetize this video if I say the actual, white breads. You know what I'm saying? So it was a huge smear that all the outlets, except for Fox News, believe it or not, who's the only ones who really kind of had Yang's back at this point. Not really, but most of the interviews were more cordial and just straightforward, basic interviews, while CNN, especially MSNBC, was either leaving him off graphics or smearing him completely, right? And all the outlets would force him to answer this question. And at this point in time, he had answered this question so many times. And I know it's just a town hall, but it's still kind of an interview with plants in the audience and everything, right? So, and also with a whole host of questions designed to make him look bad. And I won't bore you with all the little snippets of those questions just because it's an old interview. We've beat the horse to a pulp on that. But I do want to play the white bread part. You know what I'm saying? So, which of course Ana Cabara just had to. She just had to interject here. At this point, she had done got the dog whistle or straight from the top. Somebody Yang, we got to push out. You know what I mean? It was obvious. All the CNN hosts were doing it. Everybody was always had an angle towards Yang. Always had an angle towards Yang that was not very, most of the time you had Biden on, they're not really pushing him hard. You had Pete Buttigieg on, they're giving him softball questions. Yang just never had any of that. And this was kind of like the apex of it. So let's go ahead and roll the clip.
Mr. Yang, you may know that white nationalists are supporting you online. They seem to have seized on some of your statements, which they say are proof that you are particularly concerned about white people. Why do you think they're drawn to your candidacy?
You know, it's been a point of confusion because I don't look much like a
So, I mean, there you go. You can just see how against Yang they were. At this point, he had already answered that question many, many times. Everybody knew that it was all falsehood. So, but she still just felt the need to interject there, right? So, it is what it is. But that was just the early stages. And then this happened.
You are with us tonight, but I'd be remiss if I did not mention you were also invited on MSNBC this weekend, and you turned down that invitation and instead took to Twitter to slam the network, a decision that could be seen as risky during a Democratic primary. We're showing one of those tweets here, which reads in part, was asked to appear on MSNBC this weekend and told them that I'd be happy to after they apologize on air. What exactly do you want an apology for?
Well, Anna, Americans tuned in to the debate earlier this week, and they saw that I got called on less than any other candidate, including candidates that I'm polling higher than. And the questions I did get had virtually nothing to do with the core ideas of my campaign. And if this were an isolated incident, that would be one thing. But if you go back over the last number of months, MSNBC has literally omitted me from over a dozen fundraising and polling graphics, which it's not about me. It's about the 300,000 plus Americans who've donated to and support my campaign, and the millions of Americans who know we need to rewrite the rules of the 21st century economy to work for us. Think about those people donating $10, $20 of their hard-earned money to put a candidate on the stage and then have MSNBC virtually ignore me for 32 minutes, or when they tune into MSNBC to see how we're doing in the polls, it's like I don't exist. And you can go through the records, you can see they've done it to me over and over again. And I'm not the kind of guy who takes offense easily, but at this point you have to call it like you see it.
Okay, so that next interview was like a month later. Yang had just called out MSNBC, and the media as a whole had either acted dumbfounded or just ignored it, while the alternative media like myself, Temple, Jimmy Dore, all these people, Kyle Kulinski, how they all praised him, you know what I mean? Even non-supporters, until CNN was unsure, you know, how to proceed with Yang. You know, they didn't know what to do. They were uneven. Like, oh crap, he's calling out the media. We better get our act together, right? What do we like him? Do we not like him? Do we keep shutting him out, or do we include him? So then I guess they ultimately just opted to do basic, fair coverage, and to make Yang, you know, hey, we're not like MS. Don't call us out. Your ratings are already all time low, right? Yeah, so that's pretty much what happened with that. And they were starting to teeter, you know. They were unsure of how Yang was doing all this, you know, and the growing support was crazy. And then he met the LA December Politico PBS Democratic debate. And oh boy, did the narrative change from the media. Not MSNBC, but definitely CNN. So thirdly, Ana Cabara, she pushes Yang sometimes in this third interview, but overall she was way more cordial and way more happy than any other time. So let's just go ahead and take a look at this one little snippet here.
It's kind of hard to understand him because of the goth there, but I mean, there's a lot more to that episode. I watched it. You only got one question right. What kind of a goth were you?
Oh, well, you know, I was a goth who didn't get tattoos and didn't know 3 brands of eyeliner. But I was a very angsty teenager. I loved the Smiths and the Cure. And I think my fashion choices confirmed that I had no intention of ever running for president.
I got to get your take also on a new Thanos ad that the Trump campaign put out. It depicts him as the all-powerful Thanos from Avengers. Watch this. Inevitable. What was your reaction to that?
Well, to me, I think it's clear who the pro-civilization good guys are. You know, as a big science fiction and comic book fan myself, you know, I think that the Democratic Party represents a constellation of patriots who want to do what's right for the country.
Andrew Yang, live in Iowa, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Ana. Iowa, the energy's getting higher and higher. I love you for it.
Okay, so you see she's just laughing, she's smiling, she's going on, she's talking about, she's doing like the softball stuff, like the goth questions. I mean, of course, it was a way to close out the interview. She did push back on him earlier about why do you think Asian representation isn't that, but it was just a basic question that he has brought up, you know, and it wasn't really a smear or anything like that. It was pretty much cordial. You know, they normally do this to any other, like Warren. They might give her a harder question, and then everybody else is softball. So they're starting to treat him the same as the other ones, which is good news because they know that he will call them out, right? And of course, don't get me wrong, you know, the CNN, they're still Biden all the way. They're still Buttigieg all the way. Pete Booty, you know, it's Bloomberg, Warren. They're definitely not, you know, they're not doing what's right. You know what I mean? But at the same time, they're still, I guess, starting to treat him way more fair. You can see how it's so much more cordial nowadays, and it wasn't that way. You know what I mean? You can see the evolution over these last few months. Yang is becoming a serious contender, and they're starting to take him as that. So let's keep fighting, Yang Gang, and also Yang2020.com. Go ahead and make that goal, guys. We're almost there. We got like 500,000 to go. We can do this. Come on, guys. We can do this. We did 750 in one day, guys. Let's get on it. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next story.
1, 2, 3, 4.